Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today we're doing kind of a special video. It's a video response for Baseball Card Illustrated. Bronco and Kevin wanted us to do a video response on a player that we collect that other people might not know about. And mine is a person by the name of J.R. House. Now, who's J.R. House, you might ask? Well, I'm here to tell you a little bit about Mr. House. 3 rows of cards, Mr. House. I tend to go overboard on the guys I collect, that's for certain. But let's go a little flashback, I guess, go back before we go forward. We'll take a look at some cards here while we talk. But this is 1996, and I'm in a men's flag football league in Nitro, West Virginia. And I've talked about Nitro before. I think we got a TTM from a longtime umpire, Larry Barnett. He's from the town of Nitro, grew up in the town of Nitro. Umpired the major leagues for a long time, including the Ed Armbrister shoe polish game. He was the home plate umpire for that game. And of course, I may have mentioned Kathy Mattea, longtime country singer. She's from the town of Nitro, but it's only a town of about 6,000. It's about 15 miles west of the capital city, Charleston, and about 35 minutes east of Huntington. Charleston and Huntington are about 50 minutes apart, I'd say. And anyway, after one of the flag football games, someone stops me and asks if I've seen Nitro High School play. And their sophomore quarterback, J.R. House, he's been lighting up the scoreboard recently. I said, well, I hadn't watched him play, but I've been reading about him in the paper, and I'd try to stop over their next home game and see them play. Well, I stopped the next Friday. They had a home game, and man, I was hooked. I was hooked. Their offense was like our offense in flag football. And I don't know if you've seen real competitive men's flag football leagues play, but you know, it's very, very fast-paced, a lot of deception. It's wide open offensives, obviously, a lot of passing, a lot of pitches, laterals. I mean, it's very, very fast-paced and trickery. And there's Nitro High School basically doing the same things we were doing on the flag football field. And I was the QB for our flag football team. So I'm there. I'm at the Nitro High School. I'm taking notes. I'm thinking, man, we could use these plays. And I became a little J.R. House groupie, I guess, and you know, watch the rest of their home games for that season, the next season. And, well, okay. So Marshall University is in Huntington, which is 35 minutes west of Nitro. And, you know, 1996, they're playing their final season in 1AA, all sports. And, you know, they probably have one of the best AA football teams, if not the best of all time. I mean, they're just amazing defense, amazing offense. Randy Moss was a freshman there, and, you know, they're throwing the ball all over the yard. Their offense is like Nitros. They're scoring 40-plus points a game, and on their way to going undefeated, 15-0, and they won the 1AA championship, which they played at home. Now, meanwhile, in Morgantown, you know, we have two colleges in West Virginia, one in Morgantown. There are 2 Division I colleges, I should say. One in Morgantown, West Virginia University, and one in Huntington, Marshall University. So while Marshall's lighting it up, winning national championships in 1AA, there's a game-worn jersey. Up in Morgantown, they're having a little difficulty. Don Nehlen, who's a great college Hall of Fame coach, but he's at the end of his career, and you know, his coaching tree's in the Big Ten, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and their fans bringing up the middle of the meter to the games, and every time he runs it up the middle, they mark off another check mark. And so the 2 offenses couldn't have been more different. Anyway, following year, Marshall stays, you know, moves up to 1A, and they do real well. They go 10-2, something like that, make a bowl game. And Randy Moss is a Heisman finalist, All-American, just, you know, unbelievable player, obviously. And Marshall reportedly offered J.R. House a scholarship after his sophomore year in high school. And so by 1998, J.R. House, he's still piling up the stats. And he would go back and forth between West Virginia. His dad owned a couple car dealerships, one in Florida and one in West Virginia. So during the spring, he would go to Florida and play high school baseball down there at Daytona Beach. And then he'd come back up here in the fall semester and play football for Nitro. Anyway, by 1998, his senior year, he's been piling on the stats, and he's got a real chance to become the national leader in passing yards. I mean, like career passing yards ever. And the Nitro is the smallest AAA school in the state, but he leads them to the state championship game, and he throws 10 touchdowns. 10 in the AAA state championship game. And he led them to the state championship. I think it was like 69-47 or something like that. 69-52. Amazing score. And he won the Kennedy Award, which is like West Virginia's version of the high school Heisman Award. He won the Kennedy Award in both 96 and 98. So there's still a question whether he's going to play football in college or go pro in baseball, because he's doing very well in baseball, obviously, and down in Florida when he plays down there. Marshall thinks they can get him in football. Don Nehlen's under a lot of heat because he's having trouble recruiting him in football at WVU. Meanwhile, a guy named Rich Rodriguez is the offensive coordinator at Tulane. And he's been recruiting JR pretty hard. And so meanwhile, Rich Rodriguez goes to Clemson and becomes the offensive coordinator there. JR signs professionally. He's drafted in the 5th round because, he's telling them that he's going to play football and trying to maneuver for his draft status, which actually hurt him in the draft. So they drafted him 5th round, and he signed professionally to play baseball, and he signs with the Pirates. So I couldn't be happier about that. Big Pirate fan, huge J.R. House fan. And so he gets signed, and then the following year in 2000, he's in the South Atlantic League, which Charleston has a team in the South Atlantic League, so I get to watch him play. And he basically sets the league on fire, just about wins the Triple Crown. He won the average crown and led the league in home runs with 23, but he didn't win the runs batted in crown. That was won by a guy named Josh Hamilton. And JR and Josh Hamilton split the league MVP that season. Well, turns out there's a little foreshadowing there because JR got mononucleosis at the end of that season and missed the last month. So missed a chance for the Triple Crown, but it was also kind of foreshadowing for the rest of his career was going to be injury plagued. So in 2001, I think he had a hernia, had an operation, and then he pulled a rib muscle, had to have that operated on. That's his rookie card there, that 2000 Topps traded. And then he had Tommy John surgery too, which compounded his injuries, just injury after injury after injury. Did get called up late September. I was up there for his first Major League hit. Got to see that in person, which was pretty cool. These are all 9s. Topps Chrome traded 9. So anyway, just injury-plagued career. Never could catch on. He had a little cup of coffee in 2004, I think that was. And then he was injured again. Anyway, in 2005, he thinks, well, I'm out of baseball. He got released. And by that time, that guy named Rich Rodriguez pops up again. He's now the head coach in Morgantown at WVU. And he re-recruits JR to play quarterback for WVU. JR signs up there, makes the team. He's a backup quarterback for West Virginia University. There he is in the Futures game. And serves as a backup for the 2005 season. And then decides that he's going to give baseball another chance. So he signs with the Astros 2005 season. I think they called him up late in that season, got a cup of coffee with Astros, and then 2006 or 7 got a cup of coffee with the Orioles, and then by then his baseball playing career was pretty much over. Became a coach in the Diamondback system, and was the manager of a fall league team, which won the championship that year, and I think in 2009, maybe. And has continued coaching, was the roving minor league coordinator for the Diamondbacks. Those are all 2000 Topps traded rookie cards. Now, who else is in the 2000 Topps traded set? Which I bought a set because JR was in it. Turns out Miguel Cabrera's in there, so that was a pretty good purchase. Anyway, he was hired 3 years ago as the Reds' third base coach, and that's where he served the last 3 years. Cincinnati Reds third base coach. Got to know JR over the years, and I could go on and on about him, but that's a player that I collect that maybe nobody else has really heard about. J.R. House, Nitro High School, Pittsburgh Pirates draft pick. And I could say more, and I could go on and on and on. I think I'll just leave it there. Maybe talk about him some other time and what he did for my nephews. But yeah, we'll just leave it at that. And I'll leave a link down to Baseball Calgary Illustrated. They're having a big, big giveaway. So go check them out. Give them a subscription. They do a great job. They kind of changed their format recently during Sports Card Shorts. And so give them check them out. I'll have a link in the description. And go give them a sub and let them know that I sent you there. Thanks for being with me today, and we will see you soon.